It is a Friday morning on KCMO Talk Radio. Happy New Year, January 2nd. Thank you to all the fill-in hosts from the last few days, filling in for me here on 95.7 FM. Got some downtime, some beautiful time with the family at home, but now back at it on a Friday morning. And I figured, hey, I'll come in on a Friday because then I got 2 days off anyway, the next couple of days. Tony Botello, Tony'sKansasCity.com.
Happy New Year, Pete.
Happy New Year, my man. Everything go well for you?
Not too bad. I didn't get stabbed on the bus, so...
Good.
Any week that doesn't happen is good for me.
That is a very good week for you. I mean, you really got to count your blessings, right?
That's right.
It's the little things. All right. Well, let me start off here. We have not spoken in a few weeks, but you've seen the drama unfold. You've written about it extensively at Tony'sKansasCity.com. The Chiefs moving to Kansas. What about this story intrigues you the most?
You know, and okay. If you'll forgive me, like, I want to start off a little philosophically because it's the beginning of the year. Like, at what point? Because you have kids. You have a very important future. You're guiding other people rely on you, Pete. Mm-hmm. And so, for me, it doesn't matter. And before we start, I want to say, like, I believe in, like, trophy wives and barbecue and two-car garages and all that stuff. I love capitalism. But at what point do you tell, like, your kids, like, yeah, this capitalism stuff is kind of a joke?
Well, this is not capitalism, though.
But that's the system that we're using. You know, that's the same argument they used to give with socialism. It's like, oh, no, we haven't seen it work. Well, or like, yeah, we haven't seen it in its true form. And then, you know, like communist China has one of the biggest economies in the world.
But this inherently is Republicans and Democrats coming together to literally back up the truck and hand it over to the Hunt family. So it's the antithesis of capitalism. And I agree. If your point is Republicans are hypocrites on capitalism, they are in Kansas right now. They are. If that's the point you're making, I agree with you.
I want to lead people to whatever conclusions they draw. And I guess to answer your question directly, the thing that sticks out to me and that resonates all over the country, I think the Wall Street Journal called it the most lopsided deal in sports history. And it just, over time, the Star is going with a high figure of $6 billion. And just because some of the details that come out, and your guest host and Tui did a great job at it, and you've talked about it. But from what I understand, correct me if I'm wrong, but the rent is $7 million that all goes back into maintenance funds. Yeah. I mean, they're basically just giving it to you know. You get into the partisan stuff, and I agree with you. There's a big picture here, but at that point, you have people attacking the Republican side, saying, you know, calling Clark Hunt a corporate welfare king. I mean, that's got to sting.
You know what, though? I'll say this much: Clark just made the ask.
Right.
The state politicians who are supposed to protect the taxpayer were dumb enough to go along with it. Right? I mean, is it Clark Hunt's fault that he asked for everything and they actually said yes? He's probably got to be like, can you believe these suckers?
That's true. And there's enough legitimate issues to throw at both sides. And I guess I'm going to steal from one of my commenters. Everybody uses an alias. But imagine we do, over the next 30 years, $6 billion in small business loans to all throughout Kansas. There would be a renaissance. There'd be people moving there to get that money. There would be a revival in small towns and urban areas that you would never see, and it's just going so it's going so people can enjoy football games, and that's great. But we know from being in Kansas City, Missouri, that economic, all those jobs, it's 20,000 jobs. We know it's you have to take it with a grain of salt, because if it was such a great benefit, then the Denny's again next to Arrowhead wouldn't be shut down. Adams Mark Hotel wouldn't be shut down. And the most busy thing next to Arrowhead after 50 years is the gas station.
Yeah. No, listen, you're right. And here's the other thing. These Kansas politicians have spent years saying, what do we do to revitalize rural Kansas? This does nothing. This doubles down on Johnson County and, to a lesser degree in some ways, Wyandotte, obviously, where the stadium's going to be. But you got the complex that's going to be in Olathe. It does nothing for the people they've insisted they wanted to help, especially the Republicans, for a generation now. It does nothing outside of potentially divert future tax dollars away from their basic services. They all look like frauds right now.
It's just a horrible decision to leave. What we broke on the news day, I got sent to me, and I hope I saw other stations pick up on it. So now in Kansas City proper, we are left with an empty Arrowhead Stadium. The funniest meme of the week right after is Arrowhead becoming a Spirit costume Halloween store.
Spirit Halloween store. That's pretty good. But like I saw Mayor Q told Fox 4, hey, we're going to compete for concerts and big events when the Chiefs leave. What planet's he living on?
Women's World Cup 2033. Yeah, and it's one punchline after the next. You know, somebody on the blog is like, yes, that will bring in tens of dozens of dollars.
Yeah, it's going to cost them millions to maintain the complex. For what? I mean, for maybe a concert a year, but even that, I mean, those big concert stadium shows are not going to pick Arrowhead over the domed stadium 20 minutes away. That's $4 billion. I mean, listen. I have not been one to blame Mayor Q for a lot of this. I think he's low on the list of people to blame. But he's got to be kidding me with this kind of commentary, thinking he's going to be hosting any events there outside of, like, as I just said before the break, Rolling Stones cover bands who can't fill up a third of the stadium anyway. What's the point?
Right. I mean, you're looking at Women's World Cup, rugby championships, maybe, if they decide to lose money on it for another decade before they pull the plug. It'd be a great place for, like, the high school football championships where maybe you fill the lower deck. Maybe a college football game every now and then. That's about it.
Yeah, that's really all there is to it. All right, what about the Royals? Where do you see this going?
This goes nowhere. 18th and Paseo is, and the plan is horrific. We had the whole city lit blue, downtown lit blue. Union Station put out their statement in support of it. The downtown council came out with another statement, and we're basically recycling. You want to start new in a new year, and we're recycling the same issues from the election that was defeated.
Yeah. That's what it seems like. I saw that Union Station was lit up blue, and they put up a big post on social media saying the Royals belong downtown. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what the heck's going to happen with the Royals, but the one thing that we do know is that the Royals have so poorly handled this whole thing. No one knows what they want to do and where they want to go, and it's got to be frustrating for the counties and the municipalities involved because the Royals have blown past and disregarded every one of their own deadlines they put on themselves, right?
Right. And if we get a look at their plan, there was one plan that we released that was on the blog, and it was just a developer, but a connected developer putting up a blog post saying, it's horrific. If I'm in the 18th and Vine area and I want to, maybe the stadium might do the neighborhood some good, maybe, but it's bulldozing all of the 18th and Paseo area and just putting in new hotels and, for lack of a better word, gentrifying it. I don't know if that does the East Side that good. I don't know if they want that plan. And, I mean, let's be honest. I cover the East Side. I'm over there all the time. I didn't go to Kwanzaa this year, but I have been there before. And it's the East Side. You're going to get some arguments there. You're going to get some people who don't want to be pushed around. That's another nightmare discussion waiting to happen.
You're telling me you know people who celebrate Kwanzaa?
I've been to Kwanzaa. It's fun. I know everybody hates it.
I don't hate it. I just don't know anyone who actually celebrates like real Kwanzaa.
It's a great party. It's at the Gem. They do it every year. There's a guy who hosts it. I wish I knew his name.
So is it party or is it a spiritual thing?
It's a party. There's a little bit of spirituality. It's kind of a rally. They have really, really good food. They have a little lit. But to me, I like music. So they come in and they start with a huge drum line. And it's just like drums, and it's Caribbean, African. I like drums,
yeah.
And so it's I've never seen anything like it. They march into the Gem Theater and they have their drums going, and it's fun.
How many of them also double down and celebrate Christmas and get a 2-for-1?
It's a party. Yeah, okay. They celebrate everything.
So they're all 2-for-1ers.
Exactly.
Okay, all right. Tony Botello, Tony's Kansas City is here on KCMO. So, do you have a prediction or any idea what you think the Royals would do if you had to make one right now?
No, because I don't want to look silly in retrospect.
That's what we do. We're in media. We're supposed to look silly and make bad predictions.
Let me throw out the silliest of all. The leadership needs to come from Clay County. And what would really benefit Kansas City, and what I think the people in Jeff City, if they really thought about it, if somebody developed a plan, maybe NKC, maybe that's the favorite, but maybe we connect and we get past in Kansas City, Missouri, the silly idea that the Northland isn't part of Kansas City. We do the impossible and cross the bridge. We put the stadium in Clay County in the Northland, which is the fastest growing part, has been, except for a few blips downtown. And we put it in the Northland, in Kansas City proper, overlooking our skyline, and say, yes, Kansas City extends from south to north, and we unite the city with some economic development, hopefully better services, better roads. That, to me, sounds like a real plan. Everything else they're doing just sounds like doubling down on losing ideas.
I can't argue with that. I've been a proponent and a fan of the Northland idea for a long time. I'm amazed it's taken this long to potentially come to fruition, if it does at all. But, yeah, I mean, if you're the Clay County officials, you could put the screws, too, because they got to get a vote on the ballot. And if they want to do that in April, I think the deadline is mid-January.
Well, I really think we need somebody beyond, Union Station. We know Quentin calls him up. He doesn't even have to call him.
Yeah,
he sends him a late-night text that you give your side chick, like, hey, you want to do this?
Yeah.
And that is the relationship they have with Union Station as a downtown council. If we're going to have any kind of Royal Stadium in Kansas City, we need real people, stakeholders, leaders, a real plan. And I hate talking like this. It sounds like it reminds me of a football coach, but like real leadership.
Yeah. And it doesn't exist right now with the Royals. It just doesn't. All right. We're going to take a quick break with Tony Botello, Tony'sKansasCity.com, and talk about the violence drop in Kansas City and the legacy of Mayor Lucas as he heads into his final full year in the mayor's office. We'll do that with Tony Botello, Tony'sKansasCity.com, coming up next on KCMO.
Hey, it's Vince Callanes. Catch my new show at 11 o'clock after Kevin Keatsman on 95.7 FM KCMO Talk Radio.
We're in studio with Tony Botello. Tony'sKansasCity.com is where you can find him. Does an awesome job covering the news across town. Well, Tony, there's a lot of victory laps going on right now because the homicide numbers came in this year at 138, or last year, technically, 138, the final number for 2025. That is down from 145 in 2024 and down from 182, which was a record in 2023. Is this just dumb luck, or is there something going on at the city level that you think deserves credit for this drop?
Well, I really like. I'm glad that you pointed that out. Is that we're coming off of record highs? So the cynical person inside of me and some of my more cynical readers, like, is this the dead cat bounce?
Yeah.
Like our and God, if you want to get really dark, I don't want to get really dark to start off the new year, but have a lot of these homicides, lowered the quotient of people who commit other homicides. And then the more mainstream perspective is that this Mayor Quentin's term has been the most violent and deadly years we've ever seen in Kansas City history.
Yep.
These past 8 years, and I think that's the talking point. Is like this is the lowest violence has been in 7 years. Oh, you mean when the current administration started?
Yeah.
And to me, that's not a marker of progress.
Yeah.
If we think of the people who, are God, I keep saying stakeholders. I hope that's not my silly Kamala word salad word of the day. But the people who live in this community, who have homes, who've invested in the community and want to stay here for the long term, I don't know if you sell that as progress, and that's what we're seeing.
Please don't ever talk down to yourself like that and call yourself Kamala Harris ever again. But I get your point, and it's a good one. The reality is right now, it's kind of like you were already overweight, then you get morbidly obese, and now you're bragging about losing some weight, even though you're still way overweight. Like, you still have a problem here.
Right.
And as much as so much of this has nothing to do with the mayor, when you run on, and he did in 2019, getting homicides under 100, and you made that part of your pitch, you can't then come back a few years later and be like, well, I don't have that much control, and I'm just one guy on the board of police commissioners, and the state controls it. It's like, well, okay, there might be some truth to that, but you ran on fixing it. So you knew the system. You knew how it worked. You ran on getting it under 100. You probably shouldn't have done that in hindsight if you don't have the control that you knew you didn't have in the first place. And that I think is the criticism that everyone has to agree on when it comes to how much blame the mayor has. He overpromised and underdelivered.
That's exactly right. The one thing I can add is just that with the bragging about progress is very, very vague. And so, like, tell me what exactly it is. And for the new year, I'd like people to start off like, okay, what are the things in the future? What is the plan in the future that we're going to do to keep this momentum? If it is progress, what can we do specifically to keep it going? Because I hope it's not payouts to social justice groups. I hope it's not getting in the same silly. I really hope we can leave this in 2025. But every time we talk about crime, someone thinks they're a genius and brings up, oh, well, Kansas City doesn't really control our police board. They're all locals. They all live here. Yeah. They're all stakeholders in our community. They're all people who live here. It is a position is guaranteed towards the mayor. Governance isn't the problem. And every time someone pulls that out of their hat, they set the conversation back at least a decade.
Well, I'll agree with you on that. And then I want to add to it and also get your thoughts on Melissa Johnson, the Jackson County prosecutor who took over this past year. Listen, no one could be worse than Gene Peters Baker. And Melissa Johnson does seem to be refocusing some efforts on some of that, I use air quotes, lower level crime like drug dealing and things like that Gene just stopped doing. So does she deserve some credit here as a big winner potentially?
I don't think her win is that big. She has proven that she's smart and she is savvy and she's not going to go diving headfirst into culture war issues. And that might make, just that alone might make it, there is progress at the courthouse because we're not leading with somebody who is politics first. Okay, so you're mostly saying that she's right now a beneficiary of these numbers coming down, but you're not ready to give her a lot of credit just yet. No. When I see some really tough prosecutions coming forward, and her biggest challenges are ahead of her, but sadly there will be some other cases where people want the book thrown at juvenile offenders. That's a problem we haven't solved. That's a problem that the country hasn't solved. There are 14, 15-year-old kids walking around with heavy artillery, and somebody's going to have to go above and beyond and say, yeah, no, if you're 15 and carrying a hand cannon or some kind of thing meant to take down a tank, then you need to go to big boy jail. And that's a tough decision. I wouldn't want to make it, but that's the kind of decision in the future that we're going to need to see from her to send the message, because kids are smart. Even the ones who carry guns. If younger people start getting the book thrown at them for stupid stuff like these dumb sideshows or carrying around guns, the message gets around really quick. Hey, my buddy got 15 years. He'll be in jail until he's 30. Yeah. I'm not going out with a gun. I will be at home playing video games. Tony Botello, Tony's Kansas City. All right. Mayor Q, I want to jump on, his final year in office, his legacy in Kansas City. What can he do? What should he do? What does it look like going into his final full year in office? Well, I think if we go on the conversation, he can build coalitions with the Northland, work with people on the opposite side of the aisle, go hand in hand with Republicans and say, okay, let's do something together so we can keep this team. So I'm not the guy who lost the Chiefs and the Royals. Some of that, like you were saying, some of that isn't under his control. This station broke some heavy rumor, gossip, my kind of stuff. Your program, where Sherman might be leaving. That's gossip. It's a rumor, but he may be checking out. If that's true, then we're putting Nashville and the dark horse that I think, because they're right now, Salt Lake City is building their stadium. They're out west. They have that manifest destiny vibe. They're getting a baseball team. Well, I'll tell you what. I was talking to someone who works in city governments around the country. Nashville's done. Their mayor got destroyed for giving the Titans too much money for their new stadium. So they don't have the political capital or the money to get another team. So cross Nashville off the list. The Sherman thing, I mean, all I've heard and all I've shared is just that there is some angst within the ranks of minority owners where they are frustrated with how this has been handled from the top, the stadium thing. And I think that's fair. I'm not saying anyone's pushing them out. I'm not suggesting any of that. I'm just saying there has been some angst in the minority ownership level with the whole stadium drama because it's been poorly handled. Right. The best thing the Royals can do is pick one soon. But what can Mayor Q do on that front outside of tell Union Station to put up pretty posts on social media? Yeah, I think that he has a chance here to work with, to do the unthinkable and work with Republicans.
So to go to Clay County and say, at least this because North Kansas City's got, once again, he will have technically lost the team if they go to North Kansas City. It's not in his jurisdiction.
Right. And like I said, that's where we get the Tony plan of putting them in the Northland. But, he can take some credit if he wants to off the progress of the numbers going back down to what's a horrible normal. But maybe set us in the right direction, and that's pretty much all that he can salvage.
Yeah.
I think maybe some of the stuff with the plaza, I think the idea there that really does save the plaza and changes things. I've said this idea on the show. Put a substation, put a police substation on the plaza that will inspire more confidence, that will inspire more retailers to have more confidence. People still want to go down there.
I would agree with that. I think that they want to see the plaza revitalized, but it just depends on what this new ownership group does. Got about a minute or so. Do you have a hot take for 2026 in Kansas City in terms of how you see this year playing out?
Yeah, we got to be. It's. I don't know how I'm going to do it. You are a leader. You have a very calming presence, and you talk about like ideas and policy.
I don't know about that.
Biggest thing on my blog was the meltdown at the airport. 2 people got stabbed on the bus yesterday. We're going into midterms. Things are going to get hectic. You will have all these idiots on the internet talking, there's going to be a civil war. And when's my Uber Eats order coming? It doesn't work like that. Yes, things will get divisive politically. You and I might disagree on a lot of stuff, but that doesn't mean that, nobody wants a civil war. Nobody wants, there'll be a lot of people.
So what's your hot take at 26? There's just going to be chaos? That's your hot take?
I guess that's it. There's going to be a ton of people yelling as loud as they can. And so my job and anybody who wants it is to just kind of rise above the sea of yelling and angst and just kind of ride the waves.
And leave it to the readers on the blog to comment with the chaos. All right. Tony Botello of Tony's Kansas City. Happy New Year, my man. Thanks so much for being here.
Happy New Year, Pete.
There you go. Tony Botello, Tony'sKansasCity.com, joining us on KCMO Talk Radio.